Good afternoon, YouTube world. Thank you for stopping by my channel. You are now tuned into WDLT News. Today is September the 3rd, 2022. And this morning I was looking through some Google articles like I typically do some mornings. Wake up. I don't watch cable television, so I don't subscribe to any of those particular news outlets. But just to Google some things that may be interesting to me. And there's been this phrase that's been kicked around these last couple of weeks. It's circulating around the different social media outlets. And the term is called quiet quitting. I don't know if some of you may have heard of this, but I thought it was interesting because I didn't really know what it meant. I know what it means to be quiet, and I know what it means to quit something. But I've never thought of those two things together. The article that I read was on The Insider, and it featured a woman that was an assistant to a very popular late night talk show host. And she talked about her experience with quiet quitting. And here are some of the things that she said. She's been quiet quitting for over a decade. She said she accepts that she's mediocre and found ways to do the minimum amount of work possible. She says workers shouldn't have to go above and beyond if they don't want to. She goes on to say, I realized very early on I'm just going to be mediocre. She said on the Insider's The Report podcast. The newly popular term which gained traction over Insider published a story on coasting culture back in March. Describes the idea of establishing work-life boundaries while still collecting a paycheck. Its growing popularity on social media shows how younger generations are pushing back against the expectation that they should be going above and beyond at their jobs. And it continues on with various other things. But immediately what jumped out to me within this young lady's article is the term mediocre. Now, some people at first thought may confuse the term mediocre with average. They are not the same. Now, let me tell you what Merriam-Webster defines mediocre as: of moderate or low quality, value, ability, or performance. Now, let me give you that definition of mediocrity again. Of moderate or low quality, value, ability, or performance. That's the first thing that jumped out to me. Now, the second thing is that she began to find ways to do the minimal amount of work possible to receive a paycheck. Now, the really concerning part about this term quiet quitting is that it's really gaining traction on social media platforms, in particular TikTok. Now let's examine the social media platform TikTok. 43% of their global audience is between the ages of 18 and 24. Now, if we have our Generation Z adopting this notion of mediocrity and doing the bare minimum to receive a paycheck, the global implications of our generational workforce is going to decline exponentially. And this spells grave consequences for the Fortune 500 companies that are looking to grow their businesses and their employee workforce. Now, besides just work, for men and women, mediocrity, low quality, low value, low ability, low performance will not guarantee your success in anything. And you have to understand something. We all do. It is our ability to serve within society, socially, economically, politically, if you will. That will ensure our success. And the better we become at something, our performance, when that improves, the money will come. And for a lot of the Generation Z, you also have to understand something too. You have not been in the workforce long enough. You have not gained the skills necessary to propel you above and beyond those menial jobs. And understand something. Most, if not all, of the most successful men and women in the world all had to start somewhere. But the difference between those of us that are successful and those that are not, understand that those jobs, those menial occupations, are a means to an end. But they also afford us the ability to hone our social skills, to develop all the other traits that are necessary to put you in a position to be successful. Now, this notion, this idea of quiet quitting only belongs in one place. It should only have one destination. That's the landfill. It's a garbage notion. There is nothing to benefit. Because understand something, if you are watching this video and you were born in the United States of America and you currently live here, this is the richest country in the world. We are living within the wealthiest time in human history. There is an abundance of opportunity everywhere you look if you are willing to look. And you are in a position mentally, physically, and spiritually to put in the work, to become of service. But there is nothing, absolutely nothing, that being mediocre and exhibiting mediocrity that will benefit you in the long run. You will not be able to harvest all that this country has to offer with a quiet quitting mentality. It should be thrown away. It should be demolished. That level of thinking should be in a landfill. We don't visit landfills. We go to drop things off that we no longer want or need. They're spoiled. They're rotten. And we go on about our lives. And that Generation Z specifically, to you as a generational group, you need to get that out of your head. Because you will not go any further than where you are now. But one thing is certain, you will get older. But you won't go any further financially, spiritually, or emotionally with this idea of quiet quitting. Now, this is just one article, and this is part one of a two-part series. I'm going to cover in the second part a different article, which takes a different approach to this idea of quiet quitting. And I want to break that down and discuss some of the pitfalls that I noticed within that article as well. Thank you all for watching. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe. Continue to do your best to stay motivated and inspired, and stay tuned for part two.